Hey, Army. Are you still alive after that night? Because honestly, I could barely breathe watching everything that went down on day 2 of the BTS Arirang World Tour in Tampa, Florida, April 26, 2026. Raymond James Stadium. Over 60,000 people. And the two names that were trending everywhere, on Twitter, X, Weverse, even American TikTok, all night long were Park Jimin and Kim Namjoon, also known as RM. Guys, this was not just another concert. This was a historic moment. This was living, breathing proof that BTS 2.0 is not just hype. It is a reality that is shaking the entire entertainment world to its core. So get comfortable, grab your light stick, and stay with me until the very end, because I am going to break down every single incredible moment from day 2 in Tampa, from the moments that made us cry, to the ones that made us absolutely lose our minds, to the ones that sent ARMY all over the world straight to the top of the trending charts. Before we dive into the details of that night, I want to give some context for anyone who might be new to the fandom or who just wants to fully understand how enormous the significance of this moment really is. The last time BTS performed together as a complete group in the United States was 4 years ago, April 2022, at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. 4 years. Think about that. 4 years of ARMY waiting, keeping their light sticks charged, replaying old concert footage, and hoping with everything they had that this moment would come again. Then came mandatory military service. One by one, the members enlisted. And finally, on June 21st, 2025, Suga, the last member, completed his duty. The 2.5-year void was officially over. All 7 members of BTS were free, reunited, and ready to take on the world again. The result? The Arirang album, BTS's 10th studio album, released March 20th, 2026. It debuted straight at #1 on the Billboard 200. The single Swim hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. This was not just a comeback. This was a declaration that the Kings had returned. And the world tour? 85 dates, 34 cities, kicking off at Goyang Stadium in Seoul on April 9th, 2026, then Tokyo, and now landing in North America. Tampa, Florida was the gateway. 3 consecutive nights at Raymond James Stadium. Night 1, April 25th, already shook the world. But night 2, Sunday, April 26th, that was the night that made new history. And the stars of that night? Jimin and RM. Visual, Jimin fan cam. Opening Hooligan, FY freestyle, Pied Piper body roll. You know the nickname Jimin America? That is not just a cute fan label. On that night in Tampa, that nickname was proven to be absolutely, undeniably, brutally true. Jimin stepped onto the stage with his iconic long blonde hair flowing perfectly, glowing under thousands of spotlights, carrying an aura that there is simply no other word for except godlike. Fans who had already attended night 1 said it clearly. Day 2, Jimin arrived at an even higher level than before. For the opening songs, Hooligan and Run BTS, he wore a new outfit that was slightly lighter than the costumes that had earned him the title Northern Duke at previous shows on this tour. But somehow, the simpler costume only made one thing more visible: his absolutely flawless dance lines. Every single movement Jimin makes is like poetry in motion. Military precision, but with an artistic softness woven into every beat that makes it impossible to look away. ARMY members in the front rows were already in tears before the first song was even finished. Then came the moment. The moment that, within just a few hours, had already been watched millions of times across every platform on Earth. During the performance of FY, a song that does not have particularly rigid choreography, Jimin suddenly shifted into full freestyle mode. And not just any freestyle. This was Jimin stripping away every filter, letting his body respond purely and instinctively to the music, while somehow maintaining that breathtaking level of control in every single second of it. The fan cam that captured the moment exploded instantly. In less than 6 hours, that video had surpassed millions of views. The hashtag JiminFYA shot straight to global trending. Fans from countries that had not even known the concert was happening were sharing it, stunned by what they were seeing. One fan wrote on X, "Jimin didn't perform tonight. He possessed that stage." And that was not an exaggeration. If Jimin burned the stage down with wild energy during FY, Then during Pied Piper, he played with a completely different kind of fire. The slow burn kind. The kind that creeps up on you and destroys you before you even realize what happened. During the impromptu Pied Piper stage on night 2, Jimin unleashed his iconic body roll choreography. And the stadium, 60,000 people, seemed to hold its breath all at the same moment. Then screamed, all at the same moment. A journalist covering the event wrote that the crowd erupted at full force in that instant, and the energy radiated all the way to the furthest seats in the entire stadium. In the middle of all that greatness, there was one small moment that made countless ARMY members break down completely, and honestly, it might be the most Jimin thing that has ever happened. During the show, a camera caught a young fan in the crowd wearing a custom t-shirt that read, "Jimin. My name is Jimin too." The shirt went viral among the people inside the stadium almost instantly. And Jimin, somehow seeing or being told about the video, shared it on social media after the show with just 2 words, "Love you." That was not a PR move. That was not something prepared or scripted in advance. That was the real Jimin, someone who, at the absolute peak of international stardom, still took the time to notice one small fan and make them feel truly seen. ARMY cried. I cried. We all cried. And the numbers confirmed what everyone in that stadium already felt. Immediately after the concert ended, Jimin became the most trending individual male in the music category on X in the United States. Not the group, not the collective. Jimin, on his own, dominating the trending charts of the biggest entertainment country in the world. Fans called it, Jimin stole the show. Even media outlets that do not normally cover K-pop began writing about the Jimin America phenomenon, about how a young man from Busan, South Korea, had managed to capture the hearts of tens of millions of people on a continent far from his homeland. Visual, RM speaking to the crowd, rap line performing 2.0, emotional moments. If Jimin was the fire that lit up the sky that night, then RM was the ground that held everything together. And on this day 2 in Tampa, RM showed the world that after everything he had been through, military service, deep personal reflection, years of growth, he did not come back as the same person. He came back as the best version of himself. There is something visibly different about RM in the Arirang era. Before the tour began, HYB founder Bang Si-hyuk gave an interview with Billboard in which he talked about how he had encouraged BTS to step back from overly complex choreography. He told them, "You already possess the kind of aura that can command a stage just by existing." He added that standing still, for artists like them, can be more than enough. RM took that philosophy and turned it into something even more powerful. On day 2 in Tampa, the rap line performance, RM, Suga, and jhope, on the Arirang album track 2.0 became one of the most talked about moments of the entire night. The choreography was more minimal, but that is exactly where the power lived. 3 men who had been through so much, a grueling debut, the summit of the entire world, a long hiatus, military service, and now a full-scale comeback, standing on a stage and radiating a charisma that did not need to shout to be felt. Billboard wrote in its review that the rap line emanated effortless charisma, while Jimin and Jungkook brought a distinct elegance to every controlled movement. This is not the same BTS as 2022. It runs deeper. It is more mature. It is more human. One of the most emotionally overwhelming moments of the entire night came when RM spoke directly to the 60,000 people in front of him, mixing English and Korean, but delivering a message that was completely universal. He said, with a voice that was slightly unsteady but filled with conviction, "You can never imagine how much I missed you." Then he said something that silenced every single person in that stadium, and then moved millions more who would watch the clip afterward. He asked the crowd, "How are your lives going? Any good news? Any bad news?" For years, RM understood that 4 years is a long time. That so many people's lives had changed during that stretch. Some had graduated. Some had gone through heartbreak. Some had lost people they loved. Some had found new love. And RM, in a way that only someone who genuinely cares deeply could pull off, wanted to know. He did not just want to perform. He wanted to be present for ARMY in the truest possible sense. The recording of that moment became one of the most widely shared clips in the days following the concert. But RM also knew exactly when and how to break the tension with laughter. At one point during the show, while pointing out all the obliging relatives, the partners and family members who had been dragged along by their BTS fan loved ones, RM took on the dramatic delivery of a sports broadcaster and announced, "Everybody knows this song." The next one spent nearly 10 straight weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The stadium laughed, then screamed, then sang Butter at the absolute top of their lungs. That is RM at his most perfect. Someone who can carry thousands of poetic words about life and struggle and meaning, and then in the very next breath, make 60,000 people laugh like they are all just old friends catching up. Later in the show, RM spoke about the meaning behind the album and the tour itself. Arirang is a Korean folk song that has existed for hundreds of years. A song sung at moments of farewell, at moments of longing, at moments when someone must leave the land they love behind. For BTS, returning from the separation of 2.5 years of military service, Arirang is not just an album title. It is a genuine expression of everything they felt during that time. And bringing that song to America, to Tampa, to 60,000 people, most of whom are not Korean. That was the moment where music truly transcended the boundaries of language and culture entirely. RM delivered all of this in a way that was simple but extraordinarily deep. And ARMY responded in the only way they knew how. A purple ocean of 60,000 lightsticks moving together in silence before an explosion of sound that shook the sky. Let's take a moment to talk about the production of this concert, because without it, every miracle I have described so far would not have landed with quite the same force. HYBE invested tens of millions of dollars to create a stage experience that had never existed before in BTS history. Massive LED screens displayed cultural motifs drawn from Korean heritage, connecting the visual world of the Arirang album to the stage, moving from traditional Korean landscapes to futuristic imagery that showed the fusion of ancestral legacy and the future ahead. The pyrotechnics were on a completely different level. There were moments where fireworks detonated at the exact peak of a song, and fans in the outer sections of the stadium reportedly felt the heat from dozens of meters away. And perhaps most impressively, the costume change moments, which so often kill momentum in a live show, were filled instead with standalone visual set pieces that left the audience genuinely in awe while waiting for the members to return to the stage. The concert ran for approximately 2 hours and 10 minutes, beginning around 8:20 in the evening and ending with an emotional group bow and fireworks. Many fans were still standing outside the stadium a full hour after it ended, not ready to leave, just sharing videos and reliving every moment they could. Now let's talk about the set list, because day 2 had some meaningful differences and surprises compared to night 1. The show opened with powerful anthems, Not Today and Mic Drop, ignited the crowd's energy from the very first minute. The choreography was razor sharp, the live vocals were strong, and the chemistry between all 7 members felt like no time had passed at all. The Arirang album got a full and generous portion of the night. New tracks like 2.0, Swim, which is already a global mega hit, and several other songs that blend traditional Korean folk elements with contemporary pop and hip-hop. Audience members hearing these songs live for the first time were immediately drawn in by something that felt both familiar and completely fresh at the same time. But the highlight of the night? The encore surprises. Night 1 in Tampa had debuted Permission to Dance and Magic Shop on this tour, both moments that sent the crowd completely over the edge. Night 2 had its own surprises. Without going into full spoilers for anyone who has not yet seen the footage, what I will say is that the impromptu Pied Piper moment featuring Jimin was not part of the official set list. It happened organically, because the energy of that night simply demanded it. And that is exactly what made it even more magical. Between the full group numbers, there were also solo and subunit slots that showcased how much each member had grown individually during the hiatus. Jungkook with vocals that had become even more powerful. Jhope, who never once failed to electrify the entire stadium. Suga with a rap flow that had deepened into something even more layered. V bringing his own particular elegance to every single moment he occupied the stage. Jimin proving once again why his voice is one of the most distinctive in the entire industry. But on that night, on day 2, the brightest spotlight in the building belonged to 2 names, Jimin and RM. It is also worth stepping back for a moment to look at the impact this concert had on the city of Tampa itself. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor made an official citywide announcement that several of Tampa's iconic landmarks, including Old City Hall and the downtown bridges, would be lit in purple from April 25th through April 29th, 2026. This was not a symbolic gesture. This was an acknowledgement that BTS and ARMY bring something genuinely meaningful to every city they enter. The economic impact was enormous. Tampa officials estimated a multi-million-dollar boost to the local economy from the opening weekend alone. Hotels were completely full. Restaurants had no tables left. Limited edition tour merchandise sold out within hours of going on sale. ARMY came from every corner of the continent and beyond, from Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Europe, and even Asia. Some had reserved their tickets during the January pre-sale and flown thousands of miles to be there. For those few days, Tampa became the K-pop capital of the world. So there it is, ARMY. Day 2 of the BTS Arirang World Tour in Tampa, Florida. A night that will be remembered for years and years by everyone who was there in person and by the millions of us watching from our screens. Jimin proved that his reputation as one of the greatest performers of his generation is not just words. RM proved that true leadership is about being present, genuinely, fully present, for the people you love. And BTS as a whole proved the one thing that maybe some people had allowed themselves to doubt after 2.5 years of silence. They did not go anywhere. They were simply preparing to come back bigger than they had ever been before. The Arirang World Tour is far from over. After Tampa, they move on to El Paso, then Mexico City, Stanford, Las Vegas. 31 shows across North America alone, with a full European leg still waiting in the summer. But the night of April 26th, 2026, in Tampa, that will always stand as one of the most luminous nights in the entire history of BTS. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and most importantly, share it with every ARMY who needs to see this. Drop a comment below and tell me, which moment from day 2 in Tampa hit you the hardest? I want to read every single one. Until the next video, stay purple, stay alive, and never forget, ARMY is home. BTS is the reason. Purple Heart.